Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky.
It's very exciting for him. No, it's very exciting for him.
Good to have you on set.
Because he's trying to figure out, am I going to be a senator in the age of Trump or the age of Cruz?
Yeah, but are those the only choices?
No, you also have Hillary.
You can vote for Hillary.
Isn't there? Well, I thought you'd fill in the blank as well, right?
Oh,
I mean, there's always fill in the blank.
Well, there is a good, I think it's David Ignatius piece in the Post this morning that names a few other people.
Bill Kristol was talking about other people.
Yeah.
No.
So talk about, you have been all across your state. How many, 50, 55 town hall meetings? What are you seeing out there? What are you hearing?
I think the people are greatly disconnected from Washington and unhappy with Washington. And I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I tried to block the sale, the subsidized sale where taxpayers pay for F-16s for Pakistan. Nobody in my state is for that. You know, we've got roads we need, we've got schools that need repaired, we've got things at home that need to be fixed, and we've sent $15 billion to Pakistan, and they basically laugh and cash our check, and they don't change their behavior. They persecute Christians. They have imprisoned the guy who helped get bin Laden, Shaquille Afridi. So people at home don't understand us sending that money overseas when we have problems in Kentucky.
No. What about Donald Trump? Do you have people coming up to you, Trump supporters, saying, what does the party not get? Or do you have other people saying, you know, this guy's going to destroy our party? How do you deal with the divisive nature of that type of support?
The funny thing is though I know it's talked about quite frequently on the news, and nobody really asks me that much about it. Occasionally people ask me if I'm endorsing, but
because I can tell you wherever I go, whether I'm in Northwest Florida or whether I'm on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, that's all people want to ask me about.
Well, see,
is he a threat to America?
Yeah, I guess, but what we hear a lot of times is there are local issues. For example, the big topic for the last couple weeks in Kentucky is Hillary Clinton saying that we are going to put coal miners out of business.
Right.
Well, we have 10,000 coal miners out of work in Kentucky, and when Hillary Clinton says, I think very brazenly, that she's going to put more of them out of business, that upsets people in Kentucky. So some issues are more local than national.
What you might hear at a town hall meeting. Yeah.
What do you think of the rules by which your party selects its nominee, which are getting a lot of scrutiny now? Are they fair? Do they give voters a big enough voice?
Well, I hear someone's been saying they're rigged. I don't think they're rigged, but they are biased, and intentionally so.
What's the difference?
Well, I mean, rigged would mean that it was illegal, it was somehow shady. No, it's done somewhat in the open, but they are biased in favor of the establishment. So, for example, in 2012, when my dad was running, they made a special rule that said you can't be nominated unless you win 8 states. And then they didn't count his votes. But interesting now, if you talk to all of the Republican establishment, they're saying, oh yeah, your votes can be counted. This is a big deal. Because think about it, Kasich's votes cannot be counted. Under Rule 40B, they should not be counted. And if it was Ron Paul,
he hasn't won 8 states.
They were not counted in 2012. In fact, if you look at the clips, you'll see the clips. And Iowa votes, 28 votes for Ron Paul. And the podium says, and Iowa votes, 28 votes for Mitt Romney. They just didn't even announce or repeat. They repeated that the votes didn't go to him. But this year they want the opposite. So is that a fair interpretation of the rules? And when you think about it, both Cruz and Trump have a great deal of incentive not to let anybody else have votes. That's what the rules currently state. However, 110 people are going to be very important. That's the Rules Committee, and they're going to decide what the rules are. And I think you want to see a contentious room. It's going to be those 110 people deciding.
But should there be a big broad-based effort to change it so that next cycle the voters have more of a say rather than elites and
well, it's always people trying to change the rules to their advantage. And so I don't know, you know, we always are uncertain who the establishment is. We're always very wary of who that is. We're always uncertain of who they are. And people will try to change it to their advantage, but every election changes. And I'm not so sure you can predict the advantage for 2020 that comes out of the rules. See, they didn't predict it. They tried to exclude my father in 2012, and now it's backfiring on some people who would like to see Kasich or Rubio. My understanding of the rules, if they follow the precedent of 2012, is Rubio and Kasich cannot have votes counted. People could stand up and say they're for them on the first ballot, but they won't count. But the question is, second, third, fourth ballot, everybody's saying they can come back. My understanding is that the rule says their votes don't count.
Yeah. Senator, Republicans that end up winning their presidential nomination have a long and proud history of losing. Losing first, being humiliated, going back home, learning lessons, and coming back. I'm not saying you've been.
I'm wondering who we're talking about here.
Well, we're talking about Reagan. We're talking about Nixon. We're talking about Dole. We're talking about McCain. We're talking about just about every Republican that ended winning the nomination, and they won because they learned something in their loss. I wasn't saying you were being humiliated. I was overplaying that part of it. But what's the lesson? What's your takeaway? You are a young man. What's your takeaway from this process that could help you in a future run?
I guess I'll tell you that my hope is that it's not the message that was defeated. I think on an intellectual playing field, I think our message resonates and actually trumps the other message. But we got sort of trumped by celebrity.
Right.
And so I think we continue to talk about that if you're fiscally conservative, you have to look at military spending. If you are really conservative, you really shouldn't be for destabilizing the Middle East through toppling regimes. And that's a big debate because probably the majority of my party still believes that toppling Assad is a good idea, that toppling Gaddafi was a good idea. But interestingly, the president admitted it was a terrible decision to topple Gaddafi. He didn't quite put it that way. He said he should have thought more about it before he did. But to our mind, those who believe in the Constitution, we say the Constitution forces you to think because no president is allowed to unilaterally take us to war. There's a debate in Congress. And we go to war when we have consensus.
Because of that, because of Trump's celebrity, do you look back and think you could have done anything different that could have significantly changed the game?
Not really. I think that I think virtually everybody got trumped in the sense that, I mean, he was getting 25 times more coverage than all of the other candidates combined. It was overwhelming. And Cruz was able to stick around and make his way through that. Right. And that's a good strategy, but I'm not so sure it necessarily worked for me either because our coalition was probably a little bit different than others. And but I do think that on the intellectual plane, our ideas are winning. On the idea of whether or not we should always intervene in everyone's civil war, I think we're winning some of those battles, at least among the public.
Senator Rand Paul.